So, I took the weekend and Monday off. I really felt after last week that I just needed some time to let things settle down, and I feel like it worked. I feel a lot better. I feel a lot less in turmoil. So I knew that I needed to take yesterday off because I started thinking in the afternoon about what I wanted to talk about. And that's kind of missing the whole point. This is not a show. This is just cathartic. Whatever pops into my head. Now I do feel like God has led me on a journey here, and we have a general outline, where we're talking about, we're following a script, kind of, and then as things are said, instances are relieved, we go down rabbit holes, like my mom and my sister. Each one of those was a rabbit hole. My dad and my sister, actually. My mom we haven't really got to yet. But again, I'm not interested in making this about people and personalities, but on the other hand, I don't want to shy away from it just because it might hurt some people's feelings. I'm going to say whatever needs to be said that I want to say, and we'll deal with the consequences. Speaking of whatever pops into my head, so one of the issues with my son that has been an ongoing issue, and I've known most people are like this, but it drives me nuts, and from other people, I just refuse to accept it. And that is, call me at the last minute and expect me to drop everything and come be with you. No. And when my kids grew up, when I saw them do that shit with their friends, I said, no. Like when I was dating Cindy. I asked her one year before we got married, I said, so what are you doing for Thanksgiving? This is like the week before. And she says, I don't know, I've got 7 invitations, I can't decide which one to go to. I said, so you've got 7 people thinking you might be there for dinner, and you've committed to nobody? That's rude. So, but whenever I would see him doing that, it just, and so now, and I finally told my son, for the 9 millionth time in his life, about a month ago, I said, this is my work schedule, this is my other work schedule, this is when I do this is when I do that, I'm available at these times. Now, I can make things happen, I can arrange schedules, I can do whatever, but I need time up front. So he calls me Saturday. Now, it just so happens that I took Saturday off from my other job so that I could go to Decatur and take care of the ministry. I do that periodically. So he texts me, and this, by the way, is around noon on Saturday. And he says, are you working today? Now, back when I told him this is my schedule, Saturday is my working day. And he knows that. And I said, no, I'm not working today. I'm going to Decatur. And he said, oh, okay. End of conversation. So I waited about an hour, and I texted him back, and I said, sorry I didn't get to see you today. And he texted back and said, that's all right. I was like, what a condescending ass thing to say. Like it's my fault. Oh, that's all right. That's all right. No big deal. Hey, dumbass. I need more time than 30 minutes because it's on your schedule, okay? That's not the way I operate, and you know that. Stop playing the martyr, start being a big boy, and schedule things. Damn. But anyway, it didn't really irritate me, it just hurt my feelings. And the reason that I know he knows is the last two times that I saw him, we had to meet in bars because I had to work that day. He knows that. He's using it as an excuse, as a control mechanism, and I'm not doing that shit, so whatever. Okay, so our general outline says that we are going to talk today about Taiwan. Now, I kind of summed it up the last time by saying it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Well, just before I went on, I was thinking, it really was probably the best time in my childhood was in Taiwan. And I thought, well, why is that? I was in a foreign country with people that didn't really like Americans, that were really rude. Why was it so? And I know the answer now. Money. We had money, and we lived off base. My dad was in the black market, so we were rolling in cash. We had a yard man, we had a housekeeper, a seamstress. We lived in a big 2-story home. We had a car. I mean, so you say, well, what does money have to do with? Because it wasn't spent on me. That's for damn sure. But here's what it did. It kept my mom and dad from fighting, and it kept the stress down in the house because they weren't fighting, and because they were occupied with doing their own little things. They didn't have time to fuck with me. What were their own little things? Oh, buying furniture and shopping for furniture and getting black market stuff from the grocery stores and listening to music and reading books, and mom got a little part-time job and just to keep themselves occupied, and there wasn't any tension in the house, so there was no reason to fight. Now, isn't it interesting that the issue that I was having with my mom and my dad instantly goes away when you add money to the fire? Okay, that sounds to me like I wasn't the problem. And I'm a kid. I wonder if it ever occurred to them why I became such a good kid in Taiwan. Now, there was a couple of times when they overreacted. A couple of times I talked about tossing me out of bed and pushing me around and making me check in every hour and just stupid things. I don't have my glasses on. I can't read what that says. Oh, 9 minutes, we're good. So, and they went over the top with the discipline. And but I mean, I took because we could get to the base, Shalinko base, and the base in Taipei. Ron and I had full run of the base, both bases. In the years that I was there, I took lapidary classes. I took diamond or gem cutting and cleaning classes and photo classes, and I took all kinds of classes. Ping pong, I joined a ping pong class. I won, by the way. Only because the best guy didn't show up on the day of the tournament. But whatever. It's a win. I'll take it. And then there was indoor and outdoor basketball and squash and handball courts and snack bars and restaurants and gyms, and I mean, we had full run of everything, and it was great. You know, like when we go to Shalinko, he and I would take. It was a long way away, so we had to take the shuttle bus. But we'd get up there at like 9 in the morning, and we spent the whole day. And then we'd come back at, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And all pools, they had pools, so we did a lot of swimming. So it was fun. We had full run. I didn't have a lot of issues with my parents. They knew I was on base, so they didn't really. I didn't have to call in or check in or any of that crap. And we were only 11 or 12, maybe. But we had fun. In school, it was a huge, huge school, and it went from kindergarten all the way through high school. And all the Americans and all the rich Chinese from around Taipei went to this school. The rich Chinese went there because they could learn to teach English and get an American education so that they would have an easier time getting to the States, because that was everybody's goal, was to go to the States. In spite of what the liberals tell you, everybody in the world wants to come to the United States, and that's a fact. Their government made the exit visa so hard to get. You had to jump through so many hoops that they started from the day they were born doing everything they needed to do. And an American education was a big plus for them. By the time we left in 70 something, 73 or 74, just before we left, the Chinese turned on the Americans, and there started to be gang fights down on base. And when I say gang fights, I mean brass knuckles and nunchucks and boards and poles, and they got ugly. So we got out of there just in the nick of time. My dad filed and got an extension. I think he originally had a 3-year tour, and he extended it to 3.5. He wanted to go longer, but they wouldn't let him. They told him he had to go stateside. And you know, that whole time I was in Taiwan, another reason, I mean, the reason that there was no fighting in the house was because of money. That's true. But I still didn't have fun in my house. I mean, think the funnest memory I had inside of our house was my dog and making those reel-to-reel tapes. I enjoyed that. But other than that, it all sucked. The whole life inside my home, that part of my life continued. It sucked less because I wasn't getting the shit kicked out of me, but it still sucked. And an interesting thing is I don't remember Nora hardly at all. I mean, I remember her going to parochial school. She had a bedroom right next to mine, but I don't remember anything about her life. I didn't care. I mean, I don't think I could possibly have cared less. And when I made those tapes, I think the reason I enjoyed it is because I kept the headphones on. I didn't have to hear what was going on in my house. I could ignore them and be fine. So that part of my life continued to suck. But because we were overseas and my mom and dad felt secure and they let me go, I spent most of my time outside of my house. Therefore, I made my own fun, and I had a good time. When I sit down and I talk about it, I guess before I started doing these, I never really realized that my whole childhood was divided between in my house and out of my house. I never knew that before, before last week, actually. I just find that very interesting. I wonder if a lot of people is like that. It sure explains a lot about how I look at relationships. It explains a lot about my reluctance to be in one, my inability to function in one, my inability to trust in one. Both of my wives told me I was secretive and lied a lot. I didn't lie. I just told them whatever they needed to know to go away and leave me alone. And that's how I was trained. That isn't what I meant. That was just how I was brought up and trained. Just say whatever it is you need to say to get them to shut the fuck up and go away. I worked really hard on that. And the secretive part, I still to this day don't know how to fight that. The last girlfriend I had, she said, "Will you tell me everything?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Why not?" And she said, I said, "Well, sometimes I won't tell you so I don't hurt your feelings. Sometimes I won't tell you because I don't feel like it. Sometimes I won't tell you because I know I'm not going to like the answer. But most of the time I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to tell you." That didn't go over very well. But it's the truth. If you don't want to know the answer, don't ask the question. So, as a result, and I am not blaming anybody. I don't want to leave that impression. I'm a grown-ass man. I can make my own decisions, okay? But I now know why I have issues with relationships. I now know that I'm probably going to spend my life alone. I figured out the other day, I'm 61 and I've spent a total of 18 years married. That's less than a third of my life. And I spent 16 years at home. So that's 34 years. 44, 54, So 27 years I've spent on my own. I am lonely, for sure. But I would rather be lonely than be in a bad relationship. And I would rather be alone. Now, there are parts of relationships I like. There is parts of a relationship that I miss and that I long for. Companionship, intimacy, sharing, um, taking care of, providing for. I miss those things. But the price that I would have to pay for those things is way more than I'm willing to give, way more than I'm capable of giving. I am not capable of total openness and honesty. Not capable of that. It's not that I'm a liar. I mean, I'll tell you whatever it is you want to know. The problem is, I am just not willing to spend 15 minutes explaining to you why I like my coffee a certain way. I'm not the slightest bit interested explaining to you for a whole evening why conservatism is superior. If you don't know the answers, then I just am not willing to spend the extra time and effort. I look at it this way. I've lived for 61 years, and I pretty much know what I know, if you know what I mean. I'm not explaining it, I'm not changing it, I'm not modifying it, I'm not sugarcoating it. And and for females, that's an issue. I can tell you how many times I heard, "Why don't you talk to me? You never share." Here's an idea. Why don't you go find something to do with your time and stop pestering me? Why don't you go do that? That would be a good thing. But to them, they want you to chatter all the time. I'm too fucking old to chatter. That does not mean I don't miss certain things. And probably the things that I miss are related in a roundabout way to the things I don't want. In order to be intimate, you have to know somebody. In order to know somebody, you have to ask all the questions. I get that. I'm not stupid. I'm just not willing to put in the work to get there, I guess is the point. There. I'm not willing to put in the work to get what I want, what I need. Okay. Well, we know that. See, that was a good example of going down a rabbit hole just talking about whatever came into my head, and I came to a realization. I'm not willing to put in the work to get what I want or need. Do I think that's ever going to change? I don't know. If I didn't have a job and I didn't have responsibilities and I had lots of money and all I had was spare time, I could see me doing that. Then I would have nothing competing for my time and my attention to distract me. So I could totally concentrate on it. I could see that happening. So I'm never going to say never, but, well, you see me on these tapes. I come home from my second job, it's 10:30 at night, I'm exhausted. The last thing I want to do is play 20 questions with some bitch. I'm sorry. Sorry. And it may be next week before I get my battery charged back up. And you think she's going to sit around and wait for me to get my battery charged? I don't think so. So, for right here and for right now, I'm just not willing to put in the work to get what I want or what I need. It kind of makes it my problem. How do I feel about that? I don't know. But I'm going to think about it. Well, I'm running out of time. Wow, I did not see that revelation coming. I never put it into words like that. I mean, I knew, again, it was a disjointed thought. I knew I didn't want to take the effort, but I didn't know that was my problem in the relationship issue. I thought there were other problems, and there probably are. But the bottom line is I'm just not willing to put in the work. I've made a conscious decision at some point that I am not willing to put in the work to get what I want or need in a relationship. Huh. I'm not sure what to think about that. But I'll have time to, and I will tomorrow, I'm sure. Boy, I really thought I was just going to buzz through Taiwan and end up back in San Antonio. I think I'm done with Taiwan now. So the next time we get together, we'll talk about San Antonio. All the crap comes back. Money's tight. Life sucks. And I really don't want to go to San Antonio, but we will. So we're done in Taiwan. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And but for the most part in my childhood, it was the best of times because I didn't spend much time at home. And that's the primary thing I want to remember from Taiwan. Well, we'll get back together tomorrow night and we'll talk. We'll start on San Antonio and see what rabbit hole that takes me. I gotta tell you, I am sick and tired of being in turmoil with these damn things. I may have to change just to once a week. Damn. Anyway. I'll talk to you tomorrow.